Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. It's time for a life update. Join us as we talk about what we've been doing, how things are changing, and what the future holds. Let's get started. Listeners, we're heading into June, and what does that mean? It means we all survived May. And if you're a mom, then you know what May means. If you have kids at any age in school, from preschool all the way to a graduating college senior, then you know that May is busy with a capital B. It is so busy. Yes, exams, end of year parties, programs, graduations. I can't even name all the things. So how are you guys holding up, Mindy and Julie?
I've heard it called May-cember, which is so true at our house. I mean, I don't even have, I had a graduating senior from college, but somebody needs to tell people not to have children born in May.
Yes.
I have two. Mm-hmm. And they're 4 days apart. So it's just bam, 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 party, and they're 24 and 28. It's not, but still you get together and you plan a meal and, so we did that again last night and we've done it this weekend. So it's a lot. I'm ready to coast for a while.
Yes. Yeah. Every time May hits, it's one of those like 1 day at a time months. Mm-hmm. Like you can't look at it, or you shouldn't look at it all in the face at one time because you just cry. But I mean, I've noticed I have a little more breathing room having two out of the house and just two in the house. And I don't have a senior this year. So I feel like if you have a senior in high school, that's a lot. So Maria, I'm sure you'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But I felt a reprieve that I don't have a senior this year. But also, Julie, we have a birthday in May, and his birthday, I feel like we're the middle. We have floated it. And I don't even know when we're going to celebrate it, but it has been floated.
It's so tempting to float May birthdays. I have a May birthday. My twins have a May birthday. My brother has a May birthday. Like, there's just a lot of May birthdays. And, first time moms, you think, oh, my child's born in May. We're just starting out summer. It's going to be so beautiful. I promise. Over the next 20 years, you will be like, why did I have a baby in May?
I know. And then Bryce and I have our anniversary in May. Now Abby and Joey have their anniversary in May.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's Mother's Day in May.
Oh, yes. What? Are you sure, Julie? I don't remember
Who planned that? Who planned for Mother's Day to be in May? It was a man.
Got floated. Yeah.
Then Memorial Day comes up. I mean, it's just constant.
Right. Definitely. But I say that kind of bittersweet because I know that I'm like at the peak of May, but now May's maybe going to be sad. I don't know. Do people feel sad when May slows down?
Oh, and that's what I'm telling you. You're not at the peak as far as like just because your girls have graduated. It just never ends.
Okay, it never ends.
Oh, good to know. Julie, you're supposed to offer hope for the future. What is this?
Well, I'm just saying it hasn't slowed down for me, and you think it would.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, so naturally, all three of us, we have like 2 brain cells left, and lucky for you listeners, Mindy used hers to come up with today's topic, Life Update. And listeners, you consistently tell us your favorite episodes are the ones where we're just talking, and so that's what today is. So grab that cup of coffee and settle in for a good long chat as we give you, and really each other, an update on how life is right now. And Mindy, I appreciated you suggesting this because, these are such simple things, but even amongst the three of us, a lot of times we don't really get a chance to find out what's going on. And most of the time I know what's going on with Julie and she knows what's going on with me because we're in the same city. But Mindy, you're hours away. And so we don't get to really hear like your day to day. So today we'll get to do that.
All the gory details.
Yes. So why don't we start out with you just giving us an update on your family, Mindy?
Well, I came into May and I knew it was going to be a big month for the Silliman family in general. So I kind of had to sit and journal, all the things that were coming up. And I looked back last year, the things that were happening years ago, those wonderful Facebook memories will pop up and you're like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, like just 2, 3, 4 years ago that was happening. And so honestly, we are full of gratitude and we have a lot of celebrations. And so this is has been a season of rest and healing and restoration after years of difficulty, of trial, I'll call it suffering, of just really seeking the Lord in a very dry place, a lot of transition. This is the first time in 5 years that we have not moved over the summer.
That's amazing, and Mindy.
Thankfully, I don't want to break down and cry when I say that. I'm so full of joy now that I feel like this past year has been a recovery process from all of the transition that we had been through. Mm-hmm. And it's been an active year of recovery and rest and healing from the Lord, but also that's just turned into joy and gratitude. And so, we started out our May with, first of all, celebrating Abby and Joey, and they've graduated from college.
Yay.
And so that was our first weekend, was celebrating the culmination of their college experiences. And it's just weird to think about every year of Abby's college, we lived in a different place. So
she's been like the most stable in your family, and it's because she's at school.
Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, like who would have ever thought that would have been? But she's come home to different homes every 4 years, every year of her 4 years.
That's amazing. And if listeners are just tuning in for the first time, like when we started the podcast, Mindy lived in Pennsylvania in one house. Mm-hmm. Then she moved the next year to a different house in Pennsylvania. Then the next year she moved to Knoxville. Then the next year she moved to Georgia. But this May, she's still in Georgia.
Yes. So we're celebrating. And Marie, I'm actually surprised you remembered each place that we had been. Let's see. Moving on with our celebrations. Our youngest child, Nathan, just finished middle school.
Ooh,
so he's the last one. Like, that's another milestone for our family, is he's moving into the high school.
Now, for all the middle school moms out there, I feel like middle school moms breathe a sigh of relief when middle school is over. Are you relieved, Mindy?
Well, now that he's my last, I do remember some intrepidation when it was Abby, like my first kid. Like, high school was big.
Okay.
Also, it was like the beginning of the end. I don't know if you guys remember feeling that way. It was like high school, like that's the last school they're going to be in before they finish and go to college. But with Nathan, I am celebrating. This high school's been a really sweet place for Jacob. He's excited to be with his brother, and middle school's been, middle school.
Yes, middle school awkwardness is a real thing, and it's kind of nice to move on.
Yes. Gosh, let's see. So our next celebration, my son Grant turned 20, which that's the birthday that's being floated currently that we will celebrate at some point. Let's see. So then on the 23rd of May, Abby and Joey celebrated 1 year of marriage. Woo-hoo. So that was a really big deal for them, again, that they had just graduated college together, had been through so much in their first year of marriage, but that they're just thriving, like they're doing awesome. And so that wonderful. Truly is a celebration. Just the peace of knowing that, Abby she's found the love of her life and the Lord is blessing them and they're thriving. Like there's just no greater joy for your kids. So that also meant that today, we're recording on the 24th of May, meant that today is our 1 year anniversary of pulling into LaGrange. And that is a huge celebration for my family, because that was the beginning of the rest and the healing. We were coming off full joy from a wedding, but a year ago, like we pulled in and we had not lived with Bryce for 3 months. He had started his job in March. The boys and I were still living in Knoxville. He was traveling back and forth, finishing planning a wedding and also buying a house in Georgia and, all the things that go along with that.
You were running on fumes, Mindy.
We came in and when I walked through my house a year ago, Bryce had been very diligent at trying to prepare it for me. He actually had all of the boxes unpacked. He had done a lot of cleaning and painting projects, trying to get everything done so that when I walked in, it was a place of peace. And I mean, I remember pulling into town, and just like it was hard to hold myself together emotionally to think that we had gotten to this place finally. When I walked through the house, I mean, I cried through the house at just being so thankful to have a home, to being able to live with my husband again, to be able to just begin putting down roots in this place. And this home has truly been a haven for all of us. It is the most peaceful place that I get to come to, and the Lord has truly blessed our existence here. So 1 year ago, that's what we got to celebrate. And then I'm not even done. Like, oh my gosh, the 26th of May, Bryce and I celebrate 25 years of marriage. And that is just, I can't believe it. I don't feel that old. At the same time, I feel every day of it. I mean, I don't know if you guys know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And so we actually carved out time this month and went to Sedona, Arizona, to celebrate our 25th. And so I can talk about that more later, but also I'm going to have a 16-year-old son and a new driver in the house here in the coming months. So of all the things, those are just the milestones, the celebrations, the anniversaries, the things that have happened.
Yeah. Well, and kudos to you for when you said carve out. If you're going to take an anniversary trip in May, you literally have to carve it out and like put a gigantic lockbox around it, because that is difficult to get away in May.
That's a lot of big milestones. I'm already tired.
Yeah. But I mean, it's par for the course. Like, I know there are a lot of listeners nodding their heads like, yes, I can relate to some of these things. And we're so happy for you, Mindy, for being in your home a year and really feeling like it is home.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate being able to do life updates, because all the things that we're celebrating, and I can't wait to hear all the things you guys have going. And I know you have different roles that you're facing. And so I've appreciated your friendship through all of the things that we have all been through.
Right. Well, Julie, can you give us an update on your family right now in the month of May 2022?
Like Mindy, we started off the month early on with the college graduation. David, our youngest, graduated from Lipscomb University, and that was kind of a bittersweet thing. You know, it's good to be done with college, but it's always sad when you know you've kind of wrapped up that chapter of your life and you're not going back. You know, but it was mostly exciting. And that weekend we had baccalaureate on Friday night, graduation on Saturday, Mother's Day was Sunday. So my daughter flew in from Texas, and it was just her, just because to bring Ezra, it would have been impossible to be at all those functions, you know.
Right.
So even though we missed Ezra and Colin being here, it was nice just to have her too, you know, to spend some extra time, just the two of us. And we got to do some things, you know, on our own too. And so that was just a fast and furious weekend. I think I slept for the next 2 days when they left, you know, like every moment was full, because you feel like you have to get the most out of every visit. Then kind of in the middle of that, John had his scan that he has a scan every 2 months. So that always brings a lot of scan anxiety. You know, he felt good about it, but you still just never know. It's like, is this going to be information that changes our life once again? You know? But I drove him to the scan, and before we got out of the parking lot, one of his partners called and said, "Hey, it looks great. Everything's stable. There's nothing here to worry about on this scan." And he had 2 blood clots in his legs that they had found on the previous scan, and those were already gone. And typically they can take months to go away. So that was a bonus. That was a treat that, we don't even have to worry about that anymore. You know, those are gone. Yes. So that was a little reprieve in May. And then David, the son that graduated, no, Andrew, my oldest, had a birthday May 20th. So we celebrated that last weekend. And we usually say, well, we'll just celebrate both boys' birthdays together now that they're older, not when they were younger. But we'll do like a big family dinner. So we did that last weekend. And then we kind of felt bad, like, well, nobody had given David a gift or a card or anything that night. And my mom was like, well, when am I going to see David? So we did it all again last night.
Okay.
Nothing is big. We just ordered pizza, but so it was just, another family get together, which I'm not complaining about, but it's just a little tiring. And I think I kind of wrote about this yesterday, just experiencing joy and celebration all the while that grief is like lurking just below the surface. It's just been emotionally exhausting this month. Like, it's really hard to just kind of put on the celebration face, always wondering like when grief's going to pop through. Like, am I going to make it through, or am I going to, am I going to be able to hold it, like you said, Mindy, hold it all together? That's a lot of emotions stirring around at the same time.
Yes.
And you really are joyful, but you really could just break out crying at any moment too, because of the celebrations bring up things that you're also grieving, loss of in your own life. So it's been an emotionally tiring month.
Yeah.
For that reason.
And I know that a lot of listeners rejoice, that you're saying that John's scans are good. What does that mean? Like, for listeners that are just tuning in, he has pancreatic cancer and he has been getting treatment now for over a year. But what does that mean when they say they don't see anything? That doesn't mean that he can quit treatment.
No, that just means things are stable, things are not growing, the treatment is working. But it also means just keep along. And this may be hard for people to understand, because I'll get messages like, great news, I'm so excited. Like the news is so wonderful. And it is. I'm not trying to diminish that at all. But it also doesn't detract from our daily life that it's not always great. Like, it doesn't mean that he feels good.
Right. The treatment is very hard on his body.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that we have our life back. It doesn't mean that he's enjoying a lot of life. It doesn't mean that he gets to do things he enjoys, But I mean, the alternative would be worse. Like, it's,
right.
We are grateful and we are thankful, but there is,
it's not like a remission that people might think of when they think of a different kind of cancer, where the person feels good and they're actually moving on the road to like full health again. It's not really that kind. Or
even moving towards ending chemo, like, this is working. So if I can just endure this a few more months, then, So, and that does bring up something his doctor said, he's just not feeling good on his weeks off. He's not recovering as much. So his doctor did agree that, and his doctor is very much wanting to keep on, not miss chemo. And he said, I really think you can take a month off. So he wants to give him some time off. He said, I feel like it's very safe with the amount of progress you've shown, and that it's a safe thing to do. So that was, that has given John a new outlook. Like, he needs something to look forward to. And so on his days when he's not feeling like getting out of bed, I mean, he's in there looking up, planning routes that we might drive. And, and even if it never happens, like, that is just something to help him to look forward to and give him, that brings a lot of joy to think about.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I do see what you mean about, the celebration, but the grief just under the surface. And there are probably other listeners that are out there also experiencing times of celebration, but then also inner grief. And those are two hard roads to straddle. So, yeah. Well, thanks for letting us know about that, because I know a lot of listeners do pray for John and want to hear, how he's doing. So,
yeah.
Well, I'll give you a little update on where we are. So my May started out with me turning 50. And one of the things
Ooh.
that I dreaded, and probably one of the reasons that I even started this podcast was because I knew 50 was going to come in a few years. And I tend to dread the moving into a new decade. It's like I'm walking down a corridor and almost like you're going into prison and they're going to slam that metal door and lock it. And you can't turn around and go back to that decade. That decade is closed. And maybe that's a morbid picture, but when that's the picture in your mind, then you aren't going cheerfully.
She was drugged to 50.
Right. So I did turn 50, and my oldest daughter and my husband planned a beautiful party. It was a very, very special evening. I can't thank them enough for, and everyone that came, and the people that spoke, and I can't thank my family and friends enough for helping me turn 50, because sometimes we need a little help from our friends to get over that hurdle. And if you've already turned 50, you're like, big deal. And if you're like Mindy and you're not even 50 yet, you're like, that's so far away. But I promise you, when you're there, it seems momentous. So anyways, another reason that this was so momentous this year, and I've known this since my twins were born, I knew that they would graduate and leave home the year I turned 50. And I don't know, that just seems like a double whammy.
Mm-hmm.
They turn 18 tomorrow, and they're graduating this Saturday, and I just turned 50. And so it seems very, I don't know, this is a lot of climax here.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's just been hard. It's been good, but it's also hard. I think we talked about when things come to you, in the quiet of the morning or in the middle of the night, and you find yourself, it's like you can stay busy, but then those things come, to your mind. But then, so I turned 50 on May 7th, and then on May 8th was Mother's Day. So I had a whole weekend, really, of celebration. And then last weekend, we had my daughter's graduation party. We had my sister's son, who's also a senior, his graduation party. We had baccalaureate. We've had family in town. There's just been very busy. Now this Memorial Day weekend, we'll have actual graduation and then Memorial Day. So it's definitely a very, very busy month. So that's kind of the way that things look in our house right now, is just what's on the calendar. My middle son came home from college. He finished his freshman year. And so, if you have someone coming, especially if they're freshmen, because they really do move out of that dorm, they bring all their stuff. And then you also have that transition of, they've been independent, but now they're coming back into your house. And how does that work again? So there's just, a busy time that May always is, but a good one. I mean, really, all in all, it's a good one. These are good things. I think, like Julie said, though, there's just, emotions. Emotions come up with good things too. So,
all those things you talked about, Marie, your role is changing so much right now, and your own personal life changed so much with hitting that new decade. So I don't even know how you're each day,
right,
navigating all of that.
Well, my role is changing. Tomorrow, my youngest two will turn 18, and maybe everyone doesn't feel like this, but for me, when my kids turn 18, it's kind of like, okay, now their decisions are theirs, unless it's affecting my car insurance rates or something. But I feel like they need to have the freedom to start to make some of their own trial and error decisions, unless it was an issue of grave safety. So I have that role. It's weird that now I'll have nobody who I just have the right to see their medical records. I just have the right to call on their behalf. Now I'm going to have them be on the phone and be like, yes, I give my mom permission.
Right.
So that's kind of weird. But yeah, there's just that stepping back, that what is my role? But just kind of, if you have a senior and you're thinking, oh, how am I ever going to let them go? It is sad. It is bittersweet. But just on a funny note, I have a friend who has a senior daughter, but her oldest is the same age as my twins. And so we've talked a lot, about, well, how does it feel and how am I going to feel and all this. And yesterday she texted me, she said, her and her senior daughter got in got in a fight, and her daughter said some choice words to her in the middle of an argument, and all she could hear in the back of her head were my words. You'll be ready for them to go when the time comes. So God has a way of making those teenagers and those parental relationships just volatile enough that you're like, bittersweet, love you, but yes, it's time for you to experience life.
Right.
So that keeps me laughing about it.
A sense of humor with all things is a good thing.
It is. It is. Yeah. But I think all of our roles are changing. Do you have any changing roles right now, Mindy?
Well, goodness. I don't really feel it so strongly right now. I really don't. The main thing that is changing is when Jacob starts to drive, I will be out of the morning commute and afternoon commute that has so ruled my life.
That's a big deal.
For years and years. So I'll still be doing some driving for Nathan, but he's going to be where Jacob's at. And so that morning routine, praying the boys to school, that's not going to happen. So, that's a role that's changing. And my family's even asking me, what are you going to do with your time? I think they get worried.
Tell them
if
none
I'm
of your
alone.
business.
I'm going to be okay.
I'm going to sit out on my porch and enjoy my breakfast instead of jumping in the car at the crack of dawn.
That's right. And you know what? I'm not going to be late to my workout class anymore.
Right.
So that's really the only role that's changing for me right now.
Yeah. How about you, Julie? You have a senior graduating from college, so there is a role change.
Well, and with him living at home, I've noticed it a lot lately. Like we had our house painted. I forgot to add that in the middle of May. Yes. During all of this stuff, we had some of the outside painted and all of the inside painted. So for 10 days, I had painters in the house. And that, just imagine, that means every picture's off the wall. And that means it's stored somewhere in another part of the house. Furniture's moved, things are covered, there's dust. The pantry is still on my dining room table as we speak. I haven't put it back together. So, it was funny because David was kind of complaining about that. He goes, we have more workers in our house than anybody, Mom. Like, I just think there's always somebody here. He goes, because he kind of does work out in this hallway space. And that's where the painters were one day. He was really complaining. And I was like, well, you don't have to live here. This is our house. And
this is my house.
So I did start to think about,
Right.
And, just since he does live at home, like he'll talk about things he's doing or not doing. And I'm like, and I found myself kind of interjecting my opinion. And I thought, I don't need to do that. But it's harder when they're home.
Right.
Than not,
Okay.
Kind of feel like a nag sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. On the other hand, if you want total privacy, then move out.
Right.
Because if you're living with your parents, they're going to ask questions, and that's just a part of life.
Yeah. If you're tired of painters and home improvement, then go live someplace else.
Right.
And I say that tongue in cheek. I love having him here and all, but if you're going to complain, yeah, there is something you can do about that.
Right. For sure. For sure. All right. Well, Mindy, you mentioned that you and Bryce went on a big trip. And I know that is something that a lot of listeners are probably like, get away with your husband for a week? Give us the details on how wonderful that was, because that's one of your life updates.
It is a life update, and we really did have to carve this out. And we actually promised ourselves a year ago, when we were amid all of the transitions and living separate and planning our daughter's wedding, and we're like, okay, our 24th year of marriage is, we're going to go out to dinner, but that's it. Like, we're exhausted. And so we had promised ourselves we would do something for 25. And so we did. My parents came and watched the boys. And we went and flew into Phoenix, Arizona. We have never been out west before. So for us, this was an opportunity that when we looked to book our 25th anniversary, we had originally booked an all-inclusive resort in St. Lucia.
Mm.
So neither one of us were very excited about that. And so we kind of mulled over, well, what do we want to do? And we both agreed we wanted to see something majestic. We wanted to see God's creation in a way that we had never seen it before. And so that's how we ended up in Arizona. And we ended up staying the week in Sedona, which is basically home of the Red Rocks. The formations out there are truly incredible, awe-inspiring. We went to the Grand Canyon one day. And so every part of this trip was new, undiscovered territory for us. The type of weather, the time zone, like the sights, the sounds, the things that grew. I mean, we were fascinated by everything. And so Arizona is just a beautiful state, full of elevation changes and plants and cactus. And I mean, the colors are just really incredible. And so it was a week that we stepped out of our life and went and experienced something new in a new place. And we even rented, we had to rent a car. And so we're like, if we're driving ourselves around for a week, it's going to be good. And so I ended up driving a white Range Rover Sport all week.
Ooh.
Girls, she was so pretty.
That was far from the minivan.
I know, I'm back to rocking the minivan again. But even this morning, I said, you know what my outfit would match today? My Range Rover Sport. So, I mean, just in every part, we lavishly enjoyed our time together and just celebrating 25 years and all the places we've been and the things we've been through, the roles we've been through, and that the Lord has so graciously held us together and walked us through all these seasons. And I have no idea, what another 25 years is going to do, where we'll be. I could have never imagined that we would be here. So it was just such a beautiful trip and time with Bryce to be able to experience something new and also just really celebrate the 25 years.
That's a big milestone. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And being out west there are parts that are literally just otherworldly, isn't it? It's like, it's like you said, it's different in every way.
It is. It's incredible. It is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a great memory. And I'm so glad that you carved out that time. That'll be
Thank you.
Something to really treasure. Now, get those pictures in an album, Mindy.
I will. And I'm going to include the car.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are some other things you'd like to update listeners on, Julie?
Well, I just kind of wanted to share a story of something neat that happened. I can't even remember what day it was. It was in the month of May. But I mentioned that, that there's grief under the surface. And I know a lot of people don't understand that because they were like, what have you lost? But we've kind of lost our former way of life. And so John's not working. We don't socialize like we used to as a couple. I feel like I'm kind of on my own in a lot of ways. And sometimes that just gets me down, And one day I wanted to hike somewhere and I called a couple people and they couldn't go. I tried to remember like what we've talked about in Happy School. I was like, okay, disappointment. That's a misunderstood mercy. And I just went with that. Like, you know what? I'm going anyway. And I'm going to go by myself. And I literally prayed like, God, I just prayed the whole time. Show up here. Meet me here. And so silly me, I was literally thinking, I was looking for animals like, oh, maybe I'll see a deer today. Maybe I'll see a cardinal, maybe, and I'm literally looking around going, okay, God, I'm asking you to show up and I'm not seeing you. Where are you? I mean, it was kind of like, I'm not leaving here. I'm just going to keep walking, until you show up. And so I'm on this trail and there's like a little fork in the trail and there's a bench over here. And I look over there and I see a woman sitting on the bench and I know her. I probably hadn't seen her in 8 or 10 years.
I've just got chills up my spine.
Yeah, our daughters used to be friends. And it was like, there's even like a ray of sunlight hitting her. And so I called out her name and, like, that's kind of not me. Like, I hadn't seen her in a while. She was actually getting up to start walking away and I called out her name and she came back and she talked to me and she goes, now I'm not on social media, but I know there's something going on in your life. What is it? And so we probably talked for 10 or 15 minutes, just catching up. And then I said, I'm always lost when I'm at this park. Do you know which way, it is to whatever? And she goes, well, why don't we just walk together? And she is a huge hiker. Like, that's how I knew her. We used to hike together, like out of town hiking trips. And so as we talked, I don't know, she just brought up all of these things, and they were things that I had gone through or were experiencing. Like, there was just this connection, and it was a surprise because we had never connected that way before. Like, we were never close. And just the topics, I just felt very understood and, I don't know, like, known, I guess, by this kind of stranger, Right. And it was just really neat. And I just immediately thanked God because I told her, I said, I think this was a divine appointment. She goes, what do you mean? And I kind of told her more. And I said, do you like to, because she's kind of comes across as kind of a loner, introvert. And I said, do you like to hike alone or with people? And she goes, both. But she said, I need a lot of motivation to do even the things I love. Like, she loves to hike, but she needs somebody to call her and say, do you want to do this? So I just think that it was good for me. I mean, God answered my prayer. And just to see that when you think there's nothing on the horizon, there can be. Like, you don't have to see it coming. You don't have to imagine it. Like, people can just be there that weren't there before, situations. And I think, and, we talked about hiking together and reconnecting and just some of the things she talked about. Like, it was like, I think that way too. Like, it's good to just be able to be yourself. Like, even some like political things she talked about, like, it was how I felt. Like, it was refreshing to just like be able to be myself and with a stranger kind of, it was very unexpected. And she even said, I do think this was a divine meeting. So she felt it too. So,
oh my goodness, Julie,
that was just a neat experience. And so
that brings comfort to me because I feel like this summer is like an hourglass. And then I have this big thing on the horizon. And I assume it'll be loneliness and despair. That's what I assume it will be. I was. And, to know that God will show up, not early, not in May. He's not telling me what he has for me in the fall, but I have to trust that in the fall, when I'm there, he will show me what he has for me, but we don't really like not being able to see a few steps ahead.
Right. No. It's like, if you can't see it, then it's like, well, what could happen? There's nothing that's going to happen, and, it's just something that wasn't there is now there, it's so it was reassuring to me. And even if that's not a big thing, it just reassured me that I can trust him to do that over and over again.
Well, and you prayed and asked God to show up, and you looked expectantly for where that would be.
Yeah, I was looking for deer.
Yes.
And he had something
scared
better.
them away. Yeah. She'd scared away all the animals because the Lord had her for you.
I really thought it was just going to be like a beautiful sunset or a cloud, right. Or, just something really kind of maybe ambiguous that I was going to have to say, yeah, that was God,
Right.
And this was so obviously God.
Right.
I love that you shared that story, though, because I think it takes times like that for us to remember how God meets us right where we are. And I'm so thankful. I know that there were days where I was completely desperate, the days where you wake up and it's a constant prayer of your heart. Like, I need to see you today. I need to hear from you today. I am desperate and I don't have anything left. And God, in his infinite grace and mercy, will do something and show up. And when you're begging and looking, and he's there, he always is there. So I love that you shared that story because it's very significant. for him to meet you on that day in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I came home and immediately wrote about it, which, I'm not that good at writing about writing things down in a journal, but I did because I wanted to remember it because I know I'll feel that way again.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, one of the things on your list for updates, Mindy, was just summer goals. And I love hearing about summer goals because they inspire me to maybe copy someone else's summer goals because a lot of times I can't think of anything. And then I'm like, oh, but I like hers. I'll do that too. So I kind of just did that this morning. Like my brother, he asked me to get a couple tickets because I'm a member of something for him and his daughter. And I thought, I should use that more often myself. I'm going to ask one of my kids if they want to do X. Like, I don't know. We forget what goals we could even have unless someone sometimes plants the idea in our head. So what goals do you guys have? Inspire me. Do you have anything? I know one of the things that we're doing this summer is we are taking a trip to Glacier. And everyone always goes, oh, that's going to be so fun. And wow, that's going to be great. And all I can think about is, will there be a place to go to the bathroom? I'm not going to like it if there's not a place to go to the bathroom.
True.
But you guys, I want to be excited about this trip. It's my husband and I and my twin daughters. My other son that lives at home does not want to go. He said, no, I don't want to. I hate hiking. He hates where there's no cell service. He's like, no, I'd rather stay home by myself while you guys are gone. So it's just the four of us. And I'm like, why am I not more on board? It's the whole bathroom thing, you guys. I get very nervous when there's no access to facilities.
There are bathrooms, Marie.
My brother said I'll have to dig a hole. I don't want to dig a hole.
Sounds like a brother thing to say, though.
Yeah. He's just trying to torment you.
I think so. So I do have that trip on the horizon, and I am going to, try to plan some things with my kids. But what else can I put on my list?
Well, I'm really trying to work on my genius zone, if listeners remember what that is.
Okay.
Trying to find something meaningful to do using our gifts that meets a need in the world. That's the definition of our genius zone. And I don't know, just some things have all of a sudden kind of opened back up. Like I'm going to volunteer this summer at this local ministry and doing some baking with kids after school.
You are?
Oh,
wow.
It's an after school ministry, and it's kind of in an inner city, underprivileged area. And she said, these kids don't get to bake with their moms because they're at work. Their moms are at work. So, simple cookies, that kind of thing. But I think it'll be fun.
I think that's good. Yeah.
I have pursued my art lessons, and I know I've talked about this for too long, but I have started the ball rolling on that. And like ESL's coming back at our church, and I've missed that for 2 years. And then one exciting thing is I started a children's lit book club.
You did?
And
how do I not know about this? I
What is
talk to you
that?
every week. This is highly secretive. Listeners, you guys are the first ones to find out about
Oh, my
this.
goodness.
Because I think, what do people think I'm reading? But I actually went on and looked at Gretchen Rubin's. She's in 3 children's book clubs.
Okay.
And I looked at her list, and I found 2 other ladies that really, it's just 2 of us or 3 of us that really wanted to do this. And we started off with Heidi. And so we're just going to meet once a month and talk about great children's books. But it's given me a big list of things I can read. And
Sure.
I don't know. Right now, I just want to read happy things.
Right.
Sometimes we just want to read things that kind of touch us and comfort us.
Yeah, because they're somewhat nostalgic because I've read some of them before. And they all just have some kind of moral message or some kind of redemptive value or encouragement. It's not that there's not hardship in them, but there's some purpose in the pain,
Sure.
So I like books like that. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Well, this is big news. Mindy, have you been keeping any secrets from us?
That's exciting. No, not really. And My list of summer goals is, first of all, like, we're just doing mundane things. So I still got 2 teenage boys at the house where I'm helping them create summer goals. So my summer goals are their summer goals, like going through their dressers and cleaning out clothes that no longer fit. Taking the time to do that. I informed them yesterday they would be doing their own laundry, to include folding, which I want to watch them fold. I mean, I just feel like there are things like,
right.
like that. So that's kind of the stage I'm at with that. And then another goal is just to cook more.
My goal is that my son can fold a shirt and that I make some meals.
And I might cook.
Right. That's okay, though. Hey, you know what? That's a really big goal, that your son will fold a shirt. I mean, maybe he'll fold it okay in front of you, but will you open a drawer and see folded shirts? I mean, that would be a real goal.
Or is it folded and on the floor like my son?
Yes.
He uses like the floor as his layout of clothes.
That's where the dresser thing came in, Julie, because through the school year, I am fine washing, drying, folding their clothes. They can't seem to put them into their dresser or even sometimes carry them up the stairs. And so I'm like, so maybe if they fold them, they will put them away, but we have to get the dresser cleaned out first so that they have room, because they both told me they don't have room in their dressers for the clean clothes.
Which they could have grown a lot over the last year.
Yes.
We'll give them that.
But that's no excuse.
Yeah.
But I'm also I joined a Bible study a couple weeks ago. So the kind of the book that I'm reading is, I'm actually doing some work. It's the Elijah study, Faith and Fire by Priscilla Shirer.
Okay.
And so I have been going through that for the past 4 weeks. And even the group of ladies I'm getting to know. And so that has been really, it's timely. It's timely. I've needed a lot of comfort before now. And now I just feel like I'm in a season where, let's do something new. Like, I'm still getting to know these women. I'm thankful to be a part of the group too. And, it's just kind of another step in our journey.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys want to update listeners on before we do I'm a Fan? Or do they have the scoop?
No,
I think everybody's caught up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You guys know all there is. We are such interesting people. We could summarize our lives in 50 minutes.
Yep.
All right. Well, before we go, let's do I'm a Fan. And Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
Hi, I'm a fan of something we've been watching, and it's a show on HBO Max. It's called Julia. And it is a little mini series about Julia Childs. And I know that you think, oh, how interesting could that be? Because I don't remember Julia Childs. Like, her show started in the early 60s before I was even born. But I do remember, after Sesame Street would go off in the afternoon, she would often come on. And then that's when the TV went off for me, And I just remember all the Saturday Night Live jokes about her, people making fun of her. But this show is about after she and her husband, he was a diplomat, and after they come back from Europe, they settle in Boston, and how she starts her PBS show. And it's really fascinating on what it took to get the show going, and that there really never been anything like that. People did not understand why you would watch someone cook. And that's just think about how many shows there are now that are cooking shows. And it was French cooking, and she's not French. And I don't even think I realized that, But the thing that I love about it is you will absolutely love her, and you will love her husband. And then their marriage is amazing. Like, that's just what I love about it. And you might not fall in love with her the first episode, but give it a couple. I think it's 8 episodes total. And just as a warning, they have to throw the F word in there, like maybe once a show, just to make it appealing, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not overt. Like, it's very minimal, and it's just I hated to see it end.
Oh, well, I have that on my list of. I'm kind of having this like mental list of things to do in the fall. So I have Julia on my list of things to do. Watch that while I do a craft.
Yep.
This is my exciting plans, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yes. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of?
Well, I'm a fan of really an everyday product that I have fallen in love with. So I love dry shampoo, and it's taken me a while to find one that doesn't like dry out my hair too much or cause like buildup. Through the years, I've gone through different brands, and I found one that I love. And I actually don't even use it as much as I used to have to use dry shampoo. So first of all, it is the Living Proof dry shampoo. And so what's great about it is, first of all, it smells really good. Second of all, I mean, it's free of all the bad stuff. I'll just go ahead and give that caveat because you can look it up, but free of all the bad stuff. But basically, I wash my hair and I put it on and rub
the same
it in,
day that you've washed it?
I put it on clean hair. So this has been a new trick that I want to let listeners know about. Some of you may know it, some of you may not, but I put it on clean hair, and my hair will last longer and look better that way instead of waiting for it to get oily.
Yeah, that's what I always do. Okay.
Yeah. So this has been a new change in my routine. And listen, my hair has been healthier feeling. I don't have as much breakage. It's not as dry. And as you guys know, as we age, our hair just gets drier. And so I've really enjoyed, first of all, the dry shampoo, but second of all, even the process of putting it on clean hair and preventing the dry, sweat, oily roots that you deal with.
So it might keep it from being kind of flat. Does it kind of give it body?
It does give it a little body. It does.
Well, that sounds great. I know I can use a new dry shampoo, especially in all this sweat and heat. And I hate to wash my hair every day. So that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to look for that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, my I'm a fan this week is something that you can still see in theaters. And hopefully by the time this comes out, you can still see it too. But I went with my boys a couple weeks ago to see Father Stew, the Mark Wahlberg movie. And I had low expectations. I hadn't heard much about it. Even one of my sons said, I want to see this, Mom, but I don't know how much you're going to really like it. So I was like, okay, well, hopefully I do like it. And I loved it. It was so good.
Really?
So like a short little synopsis is that this is a true story, and it follows the life of Father Stewart, a boxer turned priest who inspired countless people during his journey from self-destruction to redemption. And it is very faith-based and so interesting. This guy had an amateur boxing career, and he moved to Los Angeles to find money and fame. And he met Carmen, a Sunday school teacher, and she wouldn't go out with him unless he became Catholic. So he converts just to date her. And in the midst of his conversion, he realizes that he actually is meant to be a Catholic priest. And it's just a really incredible story. It's so interesting. There's more to it than what I've said. I think listeners will really enjoy it. So if you have the opportunity to see it while it's still out in theaters, I'd really urge you to jump on that.
And it's a true story.
Yes,
right?
A true story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So very, very good. Make that one of your summer goals.
Hey, that's good to know. We're still in Marvel Universe over here.
Yeah.
And then Maverick is coming out.
Oh, yes. I saw that
soon.
advertised.
Yes, the sequel to Top Gun. Oh my gosh.
I at first I thought, are they just re-releasing the old one because Tom Cruise didn't look that much
like
different?
Younger almost. Not
yes,
really, but kind of. I want to go to his doctor.
Right.
Actually, he doesn't go to doctor.
Well, he must have gone to something because. But yeah, no, he is still just as good looking. So there's something going on there for sure.
Yeah,
but
we'll have an episode how to age like Tom Cruise.
Right. Maybe he'll come on and share his secrets. Who knows?
Oh, I know.
Listeners, we'd love to come and have you find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. We do try to share pictures of things that are going going on in our lives. I must say that I have been remiss lately and have not been sharing as much. But hopefully this week we can post a few things of maybe some of the things that we've talked about. And then you can always email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But Julie and Mindy, thanks for catching up with me. Thanks for letting listeners know what's going on in your life. And it's always a pleasure.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
So fun. Love you, girls. I love hearing all the things going on with y'all. So this was so enjoyable for me.
Yes, this will be good to go back and listen to a few years from now.
True.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Okay,
bye, girls.
Bye.
Yeah.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.